Right, morning everybody. Well, say a little job. I've got a job to do on the van. I've just got a 2 kilowatt diesel heater, one of the Chinese ones, and my hope is that if we just lift the seat up, I'll show you, just under the seat, under here, I've got a void. Now, with a bit of luck, I'm going to get the diesel heater in there. First job is to take the passenger seat out, so I've got some room to manoeuvre, and hopefully if I can get the pipe to bend right, I'm going to have the heater blower, the little turret that blows the air out here. They're adjustable so you can turn them, so I'm going to get that to come out somewhere round about here. I've just got to be careful that I don't balk where my bed slides out, because obviously this slides out and that leg sits about there-ish, so I've just got to be careful I don't get anything in the way of that. So a lot to consider, a lot to sort out, but we'll have a play and see what we come up with. So I'll fetch you back in a bit after I've got a bit more done. You can now see a little bit clearer the void I've got to work with. Just let me tilt you up a bit, you'll be able to see in there. So you can see the void goes back quite a way. I've got all my hand in there, fingers pointed. It looks like this bit, yeah it does. This side goes round onto this step. So I should be able to get a hole in there to allow air in for the inlet side of the heater. So all being well, things are looking like they might be doing what I want them to do, but we'll see. There's always a spanner at work somewhere. Right, I'll fetch you back in a bit when I've got all this marked out and cut out. Right, I probably haven't said, but we're fitting this into my Ford Transit Connect, standard length, standard roof height. It's not the high top or the long wheelbase, it's all standard. And that's why we're trying to squeeze this heater in, because as you can see I've got everywhere else quite full. I don't want to lose any space inside if I can, which is why I'm trying to squeeze it in this section. Right, it's been doing some working out. This line is where I'm going to cut the timber back to, so I'm going to cut it all the way back. As I've said, I'm hoping then when I put that back, it's still going to be sat solid over the hole that I'm going to produce over here. But I'll sort that out when I sort it out. I've also measured, unfortunately I wanted to fetch the heater a bit more this way, but I've got a chassis rail running underneath. That's the air inlet pipe, and that's the exhaust, so I'm limited to where that goes down the side of the chassis rail. So that's where the chassis rail runs there. So if I drill my hole there, so the heater's going to sit roughly there. Right, just finished hoovering everything up, had a right mess everywhere getting this. So you can see I've cut the timber out well oversized, so hopefully I can make some packers to take up these ridges that I've cut out, and then the board will sit back on there nice and flush. I'll run the packers straight across onto here so that it's got something sturdy on. Cut the hole out and just been marking out the holes for where the pipes and everything are going to go through. So I'll get them drilled now, and then hopefully everything should just drop in nicely. With a bit of luck, bolt it up from underneath and then start wiring and piping, then see how we get on. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Right, using a number of different tools, we've got the holes drilled. So exhaust, inlet, fuel, and then there are your 4 holding bolts. So I've got all the holes drilled and it fits in there. I can line it up. Where are we? There we go. Fits in there. Lovely. I'll get the bolts in and get it all lined up now and see how it looks when it's bolted up, and then work out where all the pipe work's going to go. Right then, what we've done now is got some primer around these bare edges, hopefully hold a bit of rust back, and I've worked out where the heat is going to sit and drilled a hole through the floor there for the pipe to come up, and that's roughly where the outlet pipe's going to sit. And when I can reach it, it'll have the vent on top of that I can angle and point the heat back into the living area. So that's the plan on that one. The green mark down here is roughly where that pipe needed to be. So that's how I've worked that out, sat the heater in and done that. And then I'll just climb back out. Oh. This is probably overkill. What I've done, I've drilled a hole through there, and same again, I'm going to sit the vent in for airflow in. Right, that's it all secured in, and just jubilee clip on there, tighten that in. That's secured that pipe into there. I'll just need to, once I've got all the flooring back down, just need to adjust all that and make sure it's where I want it, and it all fits right. Like I said, that just goes on the top, and then I can twist that round then to wherever I need it to blow the air to. So yeah, that has fit in there very nicely. Like I say, you can see the other end where the air inlet is, and then I've got the hole in the side step as well for more vents. That should be all right. As you can see, what I've done there is just tighten the 4 bolts up that come through the bottom there. So they're all in place and done. I just have to cut a bit of that under seal away from where the exhaust comes through. That might not be very good. That's how it looks from the underneath so far. So we've just got to connect the air intake up to this side one, and then the exhaust goes over onto that side one. I'll get them sorted out next. The little one, the little red nipple there, that's for the fuel intake. So I've just put the cover back on there just to protect that for a little bit. So we'll crack on and get some of this other bit done. I'll fetch you back in a bit. Right, so after a lot of palaver, I've managed to get the air intake, which all I've done, I've just tie wrapped that to the handbrake cable, and then tie wrap the end all the way along there, look, to the handbrake cable, which has got it tucked out up way nicely. The exhaust, you can see I've brought round. I've had to put the silencer flat, and what I've done just there, I've had to drill a small drain hole. The drain holes are in the other side, so I've put another drain hole there and then just brought it out to the side, wrapping this section with the heat protector, so that if anybody just happens to put their hand under there or anything, they don't burn themselves. So I'm hoping that's going to work, but time will see. Once we fire it up and see what it does, it might all want moving, but we'll see and take it from there. Right, I'll catch you in a bit, guys. Morning everyone. It's another day. So this is what I'm planning on using as my fuel tank. I've got no room inside the van at all to mount a tank. So my plan is to fasten this to the outside of the back door, and somehow we've got the fuel pickup, so I need to get that in there and sealed so it doesn't leak. What I'm just trying to work out now is, obviously once this is all closed up, it's a sealed tank. So if that's closed and the locks on and everything over the top, that's sealed. As soon as you start drawing fuel out, it's going to vacuum inside. So we need a vent. Now it's how to do the vent. I was toying with the idea of just every time I pull up, just open the lid and just leave the lid sat to let air in. That'll stop the vacuum, but then I can't secure any of this. It just won't go over. Obviously you push that down to start sealing it, which we don't want. So that's that option out. Another option I'm thinking of is, I don't know what to use yet, I've got to try and find something, is try and get a pipe, an outlet pipe drilled into there and threaded in, and then some of this green fuel line come off of that, make a loop so it comes up and then over and then just hangs down the side here out of the way. That gives me air in and lets the fuel flow properly, and hopefully if I make the loop big enough, the sloshing around won't allow the fuel to splash out and end up running all down the back of the van. So that's the plan at the minute. I have got other work I can be doing outside on the van, but it's absolutely throwing it down at the minute, so that's why I've come in to start doing a bit of work on this. So I'm just going to do a bit more thinking and a bit more working out, and then once I've got a decision, I'll fetch you back and we'll get cracking on it. I've got where's the pipe gone? Ah, there it is. Right, so I've got the hole drilled out in for the pickup pipe, so that's where that's going to go, but obviously inverted. So I've got to get that through there, and then this top section back through that hole. So I'm going to try and do that with hooking wire through and pulling it through and what have you, but we'll get back to that. So all I've used for that is the cone cutter, just to cut that out there. I've spent a little bit of time searching the garage out for something I can use to make a vent, which I'm wanting to put here, but I can't find anything, so back to the drawing board on that one for a little while, I think. The next thing, of course, is I've got to figure out how to get all the filings out of the tank that I've just drilled in. So I'm going to try that, I think, where I've got a little magnet on the end of a telescopic pole. I'm just going to try and magnetise them out, if that'll work. If not, I'll have to rinse it out with some water and try and get them all out that way. Right, I'll fetch you back in a bit. Right, so what I've got is the pickup pipe, and I've taped a piece of wire to the end and then fed that through the inlet and through where I want it to come out. So I'm hoping I can shove that in, or we can get this in, pull some of the wire through, put that in there like that, and then a bit tricky one-handed, but give it a whirl, kink in the blooming wire. There we go. Aha! There we are, through. And it's just getting the nut over it now, and the washer, and tightening it all up, sealing it, and positioning where I want it to run. I'll get that done. I can't hold everything and hold the camera. Right, now, as we left it last time, we've got the hole drill for the pickup pipe, so I'll put that back in a bit. I've been racking my brains what to use to make a vent. Now, I don't know if you can pick this up or not, but I was trying to drill a hole down the centre of a bit of threaded bar, and my plan was to put a nut on the end, drill a hole in the top of the can, feed that through, and then put another nut to lock it down, and then a pipe on top. But like same again, I think you can pick it up, it keeps coming, it kept coming through the side. I couldn't keep it straight enough, and the drill kept wandering, so I had 3 or 4 goes at that to no avail. And then a shout out to my brother, he came up with the brilliant idea of plastic number plate screw, and I've managed to drill a hole straight through that one, no problem. So what we're going to do now is drill the hole in there, put this inside the same we did with the wire, feed it through, put the nut on, a piece of pipe on the end here, and I've got my vent. So I'm just going to drill this now and get this in place, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Got the hole drilled through, and same again, I've just fed a piece of wire through and then out of the spout. I've got the screw on the end of the wire there, and I've just put a little kink in the end of the copper, and hopefully once I pull that through I should be able to force that kink out by just pulling the wire to get it out the way. So it's just a matter of pulling that through the hole, and then once I've got it through here, I've got a little rubber washer and the nut to put on, and that should do it. So I'll get it in place, and then I'll let you have a look at where how it turns out. That's worked an absolute treat. We've got it in now, and obviously the hole's all the way through, so I'm going to use a bit of this line pushed onto the end of it there, and then what I'm going to do is make a loop coming up and lead it down the side of the carrier and out the bottom, so that any little dribbles that do spill out, I'm hoping there isn't going to be any, because realistically I can only fill the tank up to there, so it's got that lot to slosh about in before it comes out. And by the time I put a loop on the top as well to come down, hopefully we shouldn't get anything come out of there, but it'll allow the air in so I don't get the vacuum. Right, next one now is I'll put this back in, get that all fastened up and done, and then I think what I need to do is, I've tried to get all the bits of metal out of there with a magnet, but I am going to put a bit of water in it, swish it round, and empty it out a few times, and then leave it to drain so it's all dry again in there, and hopefully that should get rid of any little bits of swarf that are in there. Obviously I don't want them picking up out of into the fuel line, so hopefully we can get rid of them. Right, we've got the pickup pipe in now, we've got the vent in, so that's the tank all ready now. We've just got to swill it out, and what I'm going to do before I actually fit all this is I'm going to prime it all and give it 2 or 3 coats of paint again, so it's got loads of paint on, and hopefully with it being sat outside on the back of the van it shouldn't rust. So touch wood, we'll see what that's like. That's the plan, is get some more paint on it. Just got a little bit of work to do on the cage now. It only gives me bolts at the top. I'm going to put bolt holes at the bottom as well, so I secure it with 4 bolts, and I've got to drill a couple of holes in opposite corners for pipes to drop out of. I'm going to get on with all that lot, and then we'll start priming it up. Right, hopefully you can see the pump sat nicely out the way. in there. So now all we've got to do is get the next line, when I've got the tank fitted, from the tank to the bottom of the filter, and then we should be somewhere near. Right, I'll get this holder fitted on the back door now, and then the tank in. It's another step closer. Right, we've got all the pipe working for the fuel. I'm hoping that's going to be all right. As I keep saying, time will tell. As soon as we fire it up, it will either work or it won't. Right, so I'm going to get that cage fitted to the back door now. Right, there we go. As you can see, that's the carrier on the back door, all ready for the jerry can to go in. I couldn't film doing this because I couldn't hold it, mark it over the camera and everything by myself, so that's it on. Simply the 4 holes with the bolts, hold it in position where I wanted, make sure it was level and everything, mark through where I want the holes, drill them, and then on the other side I've just got some big washers to try and spread the weight on the panel, and that's it, nice and solid in there, going nowhere. Well, the next thing I've got to figure out is how I'm going to get the feed pipe through the door, whereabouts it's going to go through, and getting it down. I'm going to go through the connector that controls the wires for the lights. I'm going to try and take it through there, down the side of the van, inside, and then down to the across the front, and connect up to the filter behind the seat. So that's what I need to do. Now it's just a matter of figuring out how I'm going to do it. So I'll start planning that, and then I'll fetch you back as soon as I've got some sort of a plan in mind. Right then, I've managed to get the pipe through an existing anchor point in the back, which just so happened, where's my torch gone? I don't know if you can see down there, not sure whether this is focusing, but that's where the pipe's coming through. Comes through into the backlight, and I've come across into this tube, which is this one that feeds the cables over to the reversing number plate lights. So I've come down through there, across, and then brought it up into that section. Now hopefully that's going to go through the door and then up to the tank. So all I've got to do now is feed the pipe across to the filter. What I'm going to try is these little sticky pads. Obviously stick it on wherever, and then you put a small tie wrap through and it holds the pipe. So I'm going to see how they work, and then I've just clipped it with these self-adhesive pads, so that goes right under the bed. Round this side, and then from just under here I've gone under the floor, so it's running under the floor, comes out here, bit of tape just to hold it in position until I get the rest of the flooring down. Oh dear, get down. And then tie wrapped it round here, and then sent it through, and then under the tunnel with the fuel line, and then brought it out of that gap there, and that's just going to connect to the fuel filter behind the seat. Morning everyone, it's a very cold frosty one this morning. Right, I'm just getting ready to fetch the pipe out of the back of the van up to the fuel tank. So I've drilled a hole, just wants a bit of rubbing down, and then I'm going to put a grommet in, seal that up, and then the pipe is going to come through the centre of the grommet, and then once I've got it all in position, I'm going to Sikaflex it all round to waterproof it so nothing can get in, and then hopefully that should sort out what I need. So I'll get all this in place because I can't do it one-handed, and then I'll show you what I've done. Because it's so cold outside, obviously in sort of shack, the fire's on, and what I'm doing, this is a tin of what we call H primer. I'm just warming it up, and in fact that's warm enough now. I'm just going to spray a little bit into the cap and then use a little paintbrush just to paint round the bare metal that I've drilled in the back of the van, just to give it a bit of protection. I don't want to spray it because it's too big of a fan, so just by spraying a little bit in your cap, a little paintbrush, you can put it on wherever you want it. So that's my next bit. Well, it did say today it was going to get above freezing, but I think they're lying to us. That's still frozen. Right, the tank's on and we've got diesel in it. Connected the feed line up, and this is what I've done to make the vent. So I brought the pipe down and just through the bottom there, so if anything does slosh up, it can just drip straight out. Hopefully not, because I don't want the back of the van covering in diesel. But that's all up and done. Oh god, it's cold. And we're connected up there. We've got fuel up to the filter. Just did that by sucking the pipe, and because the tank's higher, when I connected it up, it just siphoned in and filled itself up. So now we're on with the electrics, so just sorting all them out. Oh, getting the other side. So I'm mounting the screen up there, but I'm also putting a power switch in because at night I don't think I'll ever run the heater all night long. So the switch is there to power it all down so that the screen turns off and it's not blaring at me, keeping me awake. So just got to connect the power up now. So I've got power to the switch and power away from the switch, so I've just got to wire them up. That's my mains feed there. I've got to wire that up to there and get the earth connected as well, and then I think we're ready for a test. And all that's left then is just tidying up. So I'll get all this wired up, get the two mains cables connected, and then we'll give it a whirl. Well, I've got all the electrics connected up and I've tidied them away. I've just run from the programmer, which is there, and the master switch I've put in. All the cables run down the back of the driver's seat out the way. As you know, we've got the pump and everything, the filter there, and then I've run everything through these little ducts, and it's all in, working, running. Actually connecting all the electrics, you can't go wrong because everything just plugs together in these big plugs, and only one fits one, so you cannot go wrong. It's idiot proof. And then all you're doing is a live and a neutral, sorry, a live and an earth, and you're away. That's it, done. It's been running for about an hour. It's on number 6, which is full whack, and because I had all the doors and everything open, it was 0 in here. Brought the thermometer in, and within 20 minutes I was well over 20 degrees. I've just had the doors open again, so it's dropped a bit. It's now at 26, and back here I can sort of hear the pump, but I've got to strain for it. In the front I can hear it, but sitting back here, barely hear the pump, which that'll do me. What I'm doing, I'm going to leave it running flat out for about 3 hours. So I want to check everything, make sure nothing underneath is going to get too hot that it's going to catch fire or anything. So I keep going out and checking that. But yeah, it's just a matter now tidying up, putting the floor back down, getting the carpets back down, and giving everything a good clean. Obviously I've made quite a mess. Get that panel back on and what have you, and just get the van back to normal. And that's another job ticked off the list. I'm quite impressed with that. It took a lot of head scratching, but that's just because I was trying to keep everything out the way. I didn't want anything intruding on the van. I think we've managed it, so that'll be the end of this video. If this has been of any use to you, if you found it enjoyable, informative, anything like that, do give us a like and a subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers, see you later.